Kath Goddard for Brockhill will begin the defence by asking Brockhill questions in the witness stand. But first, Brockhill takes the oath to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. In relation to previous involvement with the police, you have one previous conviction and one caution.
Yes, I do.
The caution for a public order defence, using threatening or abusive words or behaviour when you were 17.
Yes, I think it was when I was 16.
The conviction was for an offence in 2014 for using threatening or abusive words or behaviour.
Yes.
The jury have seen a family tree. Let's look at that again now. Is your family tree accurate?
No. It says my partner was Rebecca Endicott. She is my ex-partner.
During your relationship with Smith, was she your partner or ex?
Ex-partner.
How old were you when you left school?
10 years old.
Did you have formal education between 10 and 16?
Only what I taught myself.
Why did you leave school at 10?
In my culture, girls leave school at a younger age when they begin menstruating.
What is your background?
I am an English gypsy. I have a mixed background.
Were your gypsy family travellers or in settled accommodation?
Settled. My mother's side are in caravans in Shipley. My father's in houses in Morecambe.
Where did you grow up?
Between Shipley and Morecambe.
How is homosexuality viewed in the gypsy community?
Very much frowned up, but it's starting to adapt to the 21st century.
The jury know you were in the same-sex relationship. How old were you when you first identified with having same-sex feelings?
Between 14 and 16.
How do you identify?
As bisexual.
Who did you first come out to?
My father. I was 19.
How did he react?
Very calmly. He said I was his daughter and he'd love me dearly.
How long after that did you come out to the rest of the family?
I didn't. My brothers didn't know until this court case.
Did you come out to your sisters?
Yes, one sister. It was only in the relationship with Frankie.
What about aunts and uncles?
It was kept between those who knew and some friends.
Your father was positive. What did your sisters say?
They were very supportive. We are very close.
Other family members?
No, not all supportive. It caused some friction. I denied it entirely to my brothers and we fell out for some weeks.
Was this before Frankie?
Before.
During your relationship with Smith, were you in contact with your brothers?
Yes, I didn't tell them. I was scared they would disown me. I said she was a friend.
You left school at 10. When did you start working?
On the books at 18. Between 16 and 18 I worked cash in hand, gardening and working with charities voluntarily. At 18 I started as a care worker in Morecambe.
In what establishments?
We went from home to home. It was independent living, not a care home.
Other than working as a care worker and in the security industry, as the jury know, did you have any other paid employment?
No.
From going on the books to the time of your arrest, have you had periods of unemployment?
No, I've always worked one way or another.
How long did you work in care?
9 years. I was 27 when I quit care. I wanted to further my career in security. I worked in end-of-life care, and after losing my mother and grandmother, it was hard for me, especially with young people. In security, I could protect the living. I wanted to succeed in that.
How old were you when you started in security?
I was 25. I started looking at courses and jumped on a course with Pete Clark. It was for my SIA license. You have to have one to work on the doors. It's the Security Industry Association.
What did the training entail?
First aid, fire safety, health and safety.
How long was the course?
A week.
What aspects of it do you remember?
Self-defense and controlled restraining. We enjoyed that bit, and the first aid bit.
How much was first aid?
Not a lot, it was basic.
The jury heard about a close protection course. This isn't the same one.
No.
Was there any training in CPR on the first course?
Yes.
Which was more extensive?
The one with Mr. Haler, the second course.
After doing the training, how did you get a job?
Through Pete Clark. He ran some of the doors in Bradford and gave me jobs on them.
Do you get the SIA license for life?
No, you have to refresh it every 3 to 4 years.
Now the start of 2019, the year you were to meet Smith, where were you living?
Esholt caravan site, and at Rebecca Endicott's parents' house in Bradford.
The jury know that by the summer of 2020 you lived in a house in Keighley. When did you move there?
February 2020.
Prior moving to Keighley in February 2020, from the summer of 2019 onwards, where did you live?
With Becky at her parents' and on the caravan site.
When did your intimate relationship with her begin?
2017 or 2018.
Prior to that, how long have you known her?
4 years. I was 21 when I first met her.
When did your relationship end?
When I met Frankie, I ended it. It had been dissolving, wearing out since the January. I saw her more as a friend. We were better off as friends. We agreed to remain as friends.
How quickly after that did you meet Smith?
It was during the relationship. I worked at the Sun and Frankie would come in quite frequently.
We're going to look now at some documents. Your work records between November the 19th, 2019 and September the 21st, 2020.
They are for this company, yes.
Support UK.
Yes.
By November the 19th, was this the only company you worked for?
No.
Who else did you work for?
I was a self-employed dog handler. When this company didn't have work for me, I'd find work on Facebook from contractors, freelancing.
Support UK was your most frequent employer though.
Yes.
Do these details help you determine when you first met Smith?
Yes, I first met her at the Sun in July 2019, but not to speak to. I first spoke to her in October 2019, just before I completed my dog handling course. She added me on Snapchat at the end of October.
Had you spoken in detail with each other?
Not in great detail. She came in with her boyfriend and mum. It was unusual. She'd usually just smile at me, but this time she came over and said hello.
Was there any flirting?
Yes, there was. Her boyfriend came over and told me not to speak to her. I said she was speaking to me. They had an argument.
Did you flirt with her?
It was reciprocated, yes.
How long after this did you start your relationship?
2 or 3 weeks. It was November 13. I asked her to be my girlfriend.
How are you so sure of that date?
It was an anniversary date, not one I'd forget.
What did Smith say?
She said yes, she was happy.
What did you know about her previous relationship?
They were with men.
Having got together, did you two stay together in a relationship all the way through to the death of Star?
No, it was a very on-off relationship.
Any particular dates you can think of?
In the first 2 weeks of December, I broke up with her, before the 14th.
What did you remember that date?
It was Becky Endicott's birthday.
How long before that date did you break up?
About 3 days before.
Whose idea was the breakup?
Mine. She was going out Thursday to Sunday drinking and turning up to my workplace drunk. One time in particular, a man came up to me and asked if I was Savannah and if I was Frankie's girlfriend. I said yes. He said, "You best come get her." I asked what he meant. He said, "Come and see her." She had been thrown out of a Navara pickup truck and was in and out of consciousness. I had to carry her and put her in my car. She was so intoxicated.
So why did you break up?
This had become frequent at my workplace. It could have cost me my job at the Sun.
During the period from when you first met Smith to the first breakup, what was the relationship like?
It was good. The only disagreements we had were how frequently she went out. We'd be together at her mum's or we'd go out to the park, shopping.
How soon after you asked her to be your girlfriend, did you spend time at Yvonne Spenley's house?
The same day.
When did you find out Star was Smith's daughter?
The first week in November.
Had anyone told you about the existence of Star?
I knew about her, but as Frankie's sister, she told me that. We were on FaceTime and Star was popping up. I asked who she was. She said my younger sister.
Did she say anything else about Star?
No, nothing.
When you were first talking on FaceTime, where did she say she lived?
She said she had her own flat in Leeds, but her sister Alicia was staying there, so she was staying at her mum's.
When did she say that flat wasn't hers actually?
It was the end of November. She never did tell me it was Alicia's. She told me it was hers.
We had told the jury about the first period when you and Smith split up. Before that, how often did you visit Smith at Yvonne's house?
Once or twice a week?
Did Smith visit you at the caravan site?
No, she came with me once.
Was it short visits?
They were during the day, not overnight, for quite a few hours.
Under Yvonne's roof, how were things?
Chaotic. There was no routine in the house, a lot of people under the roof, and not a lot of room in the house. The children had no routine and were everywhere. Yvonne would leave them by themselves.
How was Smith with Star?
She was a good mother. She had a good relationship. She would be a bit neglectful, leaving her in the cot to feed, and there was no set feeding time.
What understanding did you have of what Smith was doing, where she was going?
Not much. If I phoned or text, she'd let me know if she was out shopping.
You ended it in mid-December because of Smith turning up at your work drunk.
Yes, she would go to the pubs in Shipley, then come to the Sun.
Who was looking after Star?
She wouldn't let me know. Could be siblings, could be Holly.
Was Yvonne involved?
Sometimes if she was at home, but quite a few times Yvonne was out with them.
What concerns did you have for Star?
Nothing major, just the nappy changing. She could be left in a soiled nappy for a bit of time, and there was no set time for bottle feeding, could be 6 or 7 hours without a bottle.
The jury heard of Yvonne's unhappiness with you suggesting a routine. Did you suggest it?
Yes, I said she needed to get Star into a routine, changing nappies, feeding, getting her down at a certain time.
Why did you suggest a routine?
I cared about Star and Frankie. I had experience with children.
What experience?
With my sister's children, from when I was 16, I helped to co-parent so my sister could live her life. Sometimes I'd have them for up to 6 months by myself.
You looked after other children too.
Yes, I took great responsibility for them.
How did you suggest a routine?
I advised that Star should go to sleep at 7 p.m, and if she did cry, I'd suggest a controlled crying technique for 2, 4, 8 minutes, building that up until they went to sleep. I got it from the TV show Super Nanny. It worked for other children.
You would say to leave Star if she was crying.
Yes,
Why leave her?
because she was going to sleep. Check her in 2 minutes, then in 4, and she'd eventually go to sleep.
You advised on controlled crying. Who did you advise?
Frankie. She said Star wouldn't sleep good. I said when to put her down and an afternoon nap.
Did you ever speak to Yvonne about it?
No,
She was an experienced mother. Did you not think to speak with her?
she wasn't Star's mother. She had children, but they had no routine.
Did you force your advice on her?
Certainly not.
Did Smith try it?
Yes, she started putting Star down between 7 and 8 p.m. and feeding her more regular.
What was the effect on Star?
She was resting a lot more and sleeping through.
You said it was chaotic under Yvonne's roof. Other than advising Smith, did you do anything else to try and change life in that house?
No.
Did you help out in any way?
I bought some clothes and a pram for Star. Frankie's pram was broken. She was a single mum on benefits. I had an income so I could help.
This was still a young relationship. Why did you buy these things?
It was for the baby. It wasn't just for Frankie. I'd help out friends or anyone if I could.
Why did you buy clothes?
She was growing. She needed bigger clothes. I doted on Star. She was beautiful.
Were the clothes expensive?
No, I got them from Asda.
Any other financial help?
Not at that point. I did after January.
You explained why you ended things in mid-December. You obviously got back together. When was that?
It was on New Year's Eve, I believe.
How are you so sure?
She came to the sun with her mum. We walked past each other and we had a conversation. I missed her.
Was there any communication in the time you were split up?
She sent a photo of Star on Christmas Day.
Do you know where Star spent Christmas Day?
Frankie told me she spent the Star at Yvonne's, then went to Jordan's parents.
How long were you together until the next breakup?
It won't have been long. We split up every couple of weeks.
Before New Year's Eve, did you use any physical force towards Smith at any point?
No.
Holly Jones mentioned an incident in a bathroom. Do you remember any such incident?
Yes, I do.
When would you say it was?
The second week of January 2020, I believe.
What do you remember of it?
Myself, Frankie and Alicia were out drinking. Holly was babysitting Star at Yvonne's. Yvonne wasn't with us. We started in the sun and went to nightclubs. We went out about 9 p.m. or 10 p.m.
Were you pre-drinking?
No.
What time did you get back to Yvonne's?
It was between 4 to 4:30 a.m. Me and Alicia came back separately to Frankie. She got back about 2 a.m.
What happened when you got back?
Frankie was already pretty heated when she went home because we wanted to stay out. I chose to remain out with Alicia rather than go home with her. That's why she was heated.
Were you drunk?
Yes.
When Smith left, was she drunk?
Yes.
Who was up when you got back?
Everybody.
Where was Yvonne?
Still out.
How was Smith?
She was in her bedroom. Me and Alicia went into another bedroom. I laid down on the bed because my head was spinning. At that point, Frankie came in and was shouting at us and directing arguments at me, saying, "If you want my sister instead of me, then have her," meaning Alicia. I laughed and said, "Stop being silly." She went to smack me and I said, "I cared about you." She was smacking me fast with her hands on my arms.
How controlled was she?
She was upset. Not out of control though. She was angry. Not raging, but angry.
When she was doing that, where was Star?
I'm not sure. I believe she was with Holly.
How long did this go on?
Not long. I sat up on the bed, I grabbed her left arm and pulled her into me so her back was against my chest. I put my arms around her arms and pulled her into me. I was telling her to calm down and there was nothing going on with Alicia. Me laughing didn't help matters.
Why did you hold Smith like that?
To stop her hitting me and to calm her down.
How did she react?
She said, "Get off me, I'll leave you two to it." Then she stormed into her bedroom.
Did you hit her that night?
Absolutely not.
Did you use any other physical force?
Absolutely not.
Did she use any other force against you?
No, she didn't.
You said she raised her voice. Did you?
No, I was more laughing.
The next day, how were things with Smith?
Things were okay. We slept in separate rooms. Frankie had calmed down by then. We agreed to go out for breakfast, me, Frankie and Alicia.
Within the family, did anyone have a conversation with you about what happened that night?
No, me and Frankie spoke and I said there was nothing going on. Alicia explained that too. We were just friends.
You said this was in the first couple of weeks of January. The jury know on January the 23rd, Ollie Jones made a referral to social services. Did you know social services was involved?
The first I heard of it was reading the reports associated with the case.
Were you spoken to by any social workers in January/February?
No.
After that incident in the bathroom, how long did you stay together?
2 to 3 weeks.
We'll move into February now. The jury know that in this month, Star went to live with Anita Smith and David Fawcett. When Star went to live with them, were you and Smith together?
No.
When had you split up?
We were together with Valentine's Day. Frankie had Star then, so a week or so after that.
The jury have heard of an incident at the Sun. Do you accept that an incident took place?
Yes, it was in February, March time, around about Valentine's Day.
There's a photo of Star having a bath in a sink on February the 14th. Was Star with Anita by that point?
Yes, I believe so. The night in the pub was March the 14th. I remember now.
There's exchanges between you and Alicia. Do you accept on the night of February the 29th through into early hours of March the 1st, you and Alicia were texting a lot?
Yes.
There were many messages about arranging for you and her to meet up that night at Casa Loco.
Yes, it's a nightclub.
What was your relationship with Alicia like then?
It was good. We were close.
Some of the messages about going to that club shows a level of fondness.
Yes.
Was it anything more than friends?
No, absolutely not. It was just a friendship. That's how I saw it.
That night when you were planning to go out, were you and Smith on or off?
I didn't know where I stood. Frankie hadn't picked the phone up all day. She didn't answer my texts. I didn't know if she was dead or alive. She had threatened suicide around that point.
You sent a message to Alicia at 9:04 p.m. You said, "Can't be asked and your sister's not even been in contact, so done with her."
Yes.
A message from Alicia, "Don't be done with me. You're my best friend. I just can't do tonight. I don't know about her." You then asked if she'd heard from Smith and said, "Please tell me where your sister is." Why were you so obnoxious to know where Smith was?
She'd been on one of her down moods, depressed at that point. She wasn't happy. She had talked about suicide. I was very anxious. We hadn't spoke all day and I didn't know where Star was.
More messages that night. You said to Alicia, "I'm fuming." What about?
I'd had a brief chat with Frankie at that point. I was very drunk. I was out. She'd said she'd been with a girl, then said a boy. It was changing.
You said, "She's with a guy."
That's what she told me.
Another message. "Someone just came up to me and told me."
Yes, I was speaking to a guy and he confirmed to me Frankie was with a guy.
You text Alicia again. "I don't know, I'm fuming." Then you say they say. You split with Frankie and she's already moved on with this guy.
Yes, the guy who I spoke to told me that.
Another text now. "Honestly, I'm like the devil." What did you mean?
Angry in terms of nasty angry. I'd been told she was already with somebody straight after we'd broke up. I didn't think she was like that.
Alicia to you. "OMG, no way, WTF, I'll flip, I had no idea. Wish I was with you, babe." What did she mean by "I'll flip"?
Tell her off, be angry with her.
You then said, "I'll flies tomorrow." In one word, flip.
I meant to write flip the first time.
What did you mean?
That I'll be arguing with Frankie about it.
Then messages continue with Alicia. Before, there's a message which said, "Find out if she's with someone." Why did you ask her to do that?
I wanted it to come from her if she was with someone.
You said, "I'm broken. I'll stab someone tonight, I swear. I'll go to your mum's tonight, watch." What did you mean?
I was heartbroken. I felt that way if I'm honest. I felt like stabbing anybody in general. It was how I felt. I didn't stab anyone. I said I was going to go to Yvonne's in the early hours. I did. Frankie wasn't there.
Did you go in?
No, I went home.
Alicia replies, "I thought she was being dodgy earlier. I've messaged her, I'll tell you if she replies." You replied, "Why would she do it? Serious, like, I swear I don't care about kids in the house. I'll rage. They'll have to have police take them away." What did you mean?
I meant if Frankie was at the house with a fella, there would be arguments.
There's now a message from you, serious like. That was followed by some attachments you sent to Alicia. What were they?
It was screenshots of conversations between me and Frankie.
Further messages now, still from February the 29th. I shit you not, kids or not, I'll find her. Alicia, tell me the truth. I never thought you'd lied to me. Where is she? That conversation went on in much the same vein into the early hours of the next morning. How did you feel about Smith at that point?
In that moment, I was heartbroken, upset, angry, a mixture of emotions.
Did you try to find Smith?
No, I went to Yvonne's house to see if she was there or if Yvonne could tell me.
After that night, how was the relationship between you and Alicia?
It was fine. We were still good. She started confiding in me a lot more about Frankie.
Did you confide in her about Smith?
I did.
How did you feel about Smith at the start of March 2020?
I like her, but the trust was fading at that point. I was losing trust in her.
In that period, did Smith ever tell you how she felt about you?
Yes, she said she loved me and didn't want to be without me and would never cheat on me. I said she had a history of cheating, but she said she never would on me.
It was about that time you moved to the house in Keighley. Was that before or after Valentine's Day?
Before, I moved in with Becky Endicott.
What impact did you moving in with her have on yours and Frankie's relationship, you sharing a house with your ex?
None at that point.
How many bedrooms did the house have?
3.
What was your relationship with Becky?
We were just friends.
Why did she move in with you?
Me and Frankie weren't going to move in together after such a short time. I wanted a place of my own. I had a lot of dogs at the time. Becky wanted somewhere to stay. We decided it was financially beneficial for us both to live together and split the bills.
You mentioned some pub incident happening on the same night you were messaging a friend, Alexandra Wild.
Yes.
Those messages start on March the 15th. When was that in relation to the incident?
The day after.
What happened that night?
It started off that me, Frankie, and another person were there. She left about 12 o'clock and gone home. Alicia and Yvonne met me and Frankie. We were drinking in the Sun pub. Alicia and Frankie started arguing about a boy. It was about Alicia kissing him. Alicia said Frankie liked him, but she said it was him who liked her.
How did it progress?
The boy came over and said he had no feelings to Frankie. The argument went into the toilets. Frankie told Alicia she would tell her boyfriend she'd kiss someone. I went in after them.
Why did you go in? It had nothing to do with you.
I didn't want them fighting, they were sisters. Alicia said I needed to hear Frankie was wanting more with the guy. She wanted to be with him.
Without getting into who said what, how did you all leave the toilets?
I said you need to leave it, you're sisters. I've heard enough, and I walked out.
Where was Yvonne when you left the cubicle?
By the sinks. I didn't speak to her. I walked straight through the bathroom to the pub area. There was the sun where I worked. I was very conscious of that.
Then what?
Frankie was behind me. Alicia and Yvonne were behind her. I had a bottle of beer in my right hand. I felt someone grab my left arm, shoulder, to turn me around. I punched out with the hand I had the bottle in as I turned round in the direction I turned.
Why?
It was a reaction to someone grabbing me from behind. I don't like someone grabbing me from behind in a pub setting. It connected with Frankie on her chin and bottom lip. The end of the bottle connected with her tooth, chipping her front tooth.
Did you mean to strike her?
No, I apologized straight away.
Where were Alicia and Yvonne?
Stood behind Frankie, but in sight of her, one almost next to her, one behind her.
What, if any, view of that blow would that have had?
They would have seen my hand connect with Frankie, but not where.
What did you say?
I said, I'm sorry, my girl, I didn't mean to hit you.
What did Smith say?
She accepted my apology straight away and sorry for grabbing my arm. She said, it's okay, I know you didn't mean to.
What were Alicia and Yvonne's reactions?
Yvonne said, oh my god, you've punched my daughter. She was angry. Alicia said, I can't believe you just hit Frankie.
Did you know it was Frankie behind you?
No.
Was Yvonne and Alicia's reaction before or after your apology?
It was at the same time.
Then what happened?
I tried to explain myself. They were irate. We were all drunk. Their moods were shifting easily.
Your mood?
I was apologetic. I was as shocked as Frankie that I'd hit her.
How did it all come to an end?
Frankie pushed me out the pub and said, ignore them. Let's leave.
Where did you go?
Back to my house.
Was Becky there?
Yes.
Back to your house. How were things with Frankie?
They were okay. We went to bed.
You sent a message to Alexandra Wild on March the 15th. You said, Alex, I need help, I think. Who is she to you?
She's my best friend outside my family and my sparring partner in boxing.
You say in those messages, mentally, I tried to kill me and Frankie last night. She asked why and how. You said, tried to drive off a cliff. Frankie moved the wheel. She ended up with a hiding. I'm out of control. I just lose it. I don't know, just had enough. What was all that about? Before Brookhill can answer, there are questions from the jury through the judge. How did you get home that night?
It was very silly of me. I drove.
Was there anyone else in the toilets at the time of the incident?
Yes, other people.
Those messages, what are they about?
The next morning, we woke up in my bed. Frankie had a mark under her left eye, and her lip was cut and swollen, and her tooth was chipped. I said, surely all that isn't just from one connection. I was shocked at her face from one punch. Frankie then said to me, you tried to drive us off a cliff last night. I couldn't recall that. I was intoxicated, but I couldn't recall that.
Are there any cliffs in Keighley?
Not that I know of. Frankie said she grabbed the wheel to stop it. I can't remember that happening.
You said she ended up with a hiding.
That was the strike in the pub. I was upset I had struck her.
What was out of control?
After Frankie said I tried to drive off a cliff and I couldn't remember it, I felt out of control, like I needed help.
Did Smith say anything about any more blows?
No, she said it was the one blow. I said I'd pay to get her tooth done.
You said, I just lose it.
That's meant to be, I just lost it.
Why did you say you've had enough?
I felt so fed up, so downhearted in myself about what had happened. I'd just had enough of life in general at that point. I was questioning myself after that night.
How did the conversation with Smith continue after you woke up and she told you things? What did you speak about?
I apologised to Frankie and she accepted it. We made up that morning.
After making up that morning, how long were you together until the next breakup?
A couple of weeks.
Between the morning in the bathroom at Yvonne's when you held Smith and the night of March 14th, on what other occasion did you use physical force on her?
None, barring the Sun pub.
Do you remember seeing Smith with bruises other than those caused in the night of the Sun?
Other than on her neck, no.
When were those bruises?
In March, before and after the Sun, they were love bites from me.
Did any of her family comment on them?
Frankie told me her granny Anita told her off about them.
Did you and Smith ever play fight?
No, I wouldn't say play fight.
You mentioned Alex Wilde was your boxing sparring partner. Is that a hobby of yours?
Yes, I've always loved it from being younger. I had an amateur fight when I was 21. I went on to train with an England coach and was looking to box in the Olympics.
Were you still training when you got with Smith?
I was on and off training up until we got together. It was for fitness and to spend time with Alex. Not as a career, as I had a back injury and had suffered a broken chest plate and ribs.
Going back to these messages, you said the relationship was on for 2 to 3 weeks after that. Then lockdown began on March the 23rd. When that began, were you on or off?
It was off at the start of lockdown.
In lockdown, people's movements were meant to be restricted. Were you still working in security at that point?
Yes.
Did lockdown affect your work?
No, I got more work from it.
What security work was available in clubs and pubs?
None, the work was with the dog.
After the Sun pub incident and throughout lockdown, where did you understand Smith lived?
At Yvonne's.
Up until the point of lockdown happening, you got back together on New Year's Eve and had on-off periods. In the on periods, how often did you visit Smith at Yvonne's house in that period?
Once or twice a week, the same as before.
Before Christmas, you said of your impressions of life under Yvonne's roof and what you tried to do. What was it like in this period?
Still very much chaotic. Still Yvonne and Frankie going out drinking.
When Star went to Anita's, did you know how much Smith was visiting?
My impression was 2 to 3 times a week, but we were on and off at the time.
What did you think about Star going to Anita's?
I didn't know at first because we were off. When we were fully back together, I'd seen Frankie for about a week, but not seen Star. I asked about that. Frankie said she'd gone to stay at Anita's.
What did you think about that?
Permanently, I advised against. For a short time, I agreed. It gave Frankie a chance to go out, enjoy herself, let her hair down for a little bit, even though I wasn't with her.
You said it was alright short term, but not permanently. Why did you think it was your role to advise that?
She was my partner. This was her baby. When I was 10, my parents broke up. It had a massive impact on my life. And I said to Frankie, a baby only has one mother. I didn't want her to let her baby go permanently.
Why was it your role to get involved?
I cared about both of them.
How did Smith respond?
She agreed and gave me one concern of her own, that if she did leave Star with Anita for much longer, she feared it would be permanent, as Anita had taken Ben when he was a newborn.
Did you know what the arrangements had been for Ben all those years ago?
I had limited knowledge, I didn't know the full reasons why.
When you did get back together during lockdown, how did Yvonne react?
She was fine with it, I got on with her.
During the period to getting back together during lockdown, you told us you would visit Yvonne's home once or twice a week, in addition to what you had done before in terms of buying clothes and items for Star. Did you contribute to the house in any way in this period?
I purchased takeaways for the family, but that was it really, or I'd pay for drink if we'd been out.
Did you give anyone money?
Frankie, but just to go out drinking with.
You mentioned earlier that Yvonne would go out with Smith. How frequently was that?
Every weekend, sometimes Thursdays and Fridays as well.
While Star was with Anita?
Yes, and before as well.
How did Yvonne afford to go out without Smith?
She'd work cash in hand.
Did you want to go out with Smith?
Yes, but I was often working, sometimes for 24 hours on a site.
There was a time Star came back to live with Frankie. When was that?
I know for definite it was by April the 4th. Star came down with an infection and there's a doctor's note. I have a video on my phone with Star and we collected the medication from the pharmacy in Shipley.
How soon before then did Smith get Star?
2 days, I would say.
What involvement did you have in Smith's decision to bring Star back to Yvonne's?
I didn't. It was Frankie's decision and I supported it.
How did Yvonne react?
She welcomed Star home, back to Yvonne's house.
From the moment Star came back from Anita's, how long did she stay living at Yvonne's with Smith?
Until June the 21st.
So from the start of April through to June the 21st, Smith and Star lived with Yvonne.
Yes.
Lockdown was in force. How often did you visit them at Yvonne's house?
Once or twice a week if I wasn't working. Some weeks I may have not seen them.
In that period, how was Smith as a mother towards Star?
It was the best I'd ever seen her as a mum. She wasn't drinking then, she was more attentive, she wanted to do more with Star, feeding her, changing her. I believe it's because she was less tired and not hungover. All I found during lockdown was she would like time away from Star. She couldn't always manage having Star full time. She'd need a break from her.
Who gave her a break?
Yvonne, Alicia, myself if I went round. Sometimes she just wanted time with me, so Star would go with Yvonne.
How was your relationship with Yvonne at this time?
Good, no arguments about going out because they weren't going out.
Other family members?
It was good, we could have conversations.
What about Alicia?
Good, she was under a lot of stress and would confide in me during this period. We remained close in that period.
The jury had heard about the Sun pub argument, where you left because they were angry with you. How long did that anger last?
It didn't. When me and Frankie returned to Yvonne's the following day and I explained it was an accident, Frankie said it was a drunken accident. I believe we all carried on like it was forgotten about.